The German military group Rheinmetall wants to build a tank factory in UK. Negotiations are already underway. Good afternoon. This is Henry Keane on UATV channel explaining how things in easy terms. It is reported with reference to a statement of the Rheinmetall CEO that it is very likely for the tank works to be built in Ukraine.
For about 200 million euros, a Rheinmetall plant can be built in Ukraine, which would produce up to 400 Panther tanks per year. Negotiations with the Ukrainian government are promising, and I hope that the decision will be made in the next 2 months. To win the war, Ukraine needs from 600 to 800 tanks, and to meet this need, production must be established promptly. Armin Paperger, Rheinmetall Group CEO.
The head of Rheinmetall is convinced that the plant can be protected from Russian air raids, and this protection by air defense systems will not be difficult to organize. According to him, even if Germany abandons all 300 Leopard 2 tanks available to Bundeswehr, at the moment this will still not be enough. Rheinmetall is currently operating in full force and is producing about 250 tanks annually.
Long-term support of Ukraine gave us the understanding that ask for a sufficient supply of spare parts. We will ensure advanced production both for weapons that we supply ourselves directly and also the delivery of classic stocks available in Eastern Europe. Olaf Scholz, German Chancellor.
The group has already commissioned more than 40 Marder infantry fighting vehicles, and by the end of the year there will be about 100 of them ready. Of the 50 ordered Leopard 2A4 tanks, about 40 are ready. There is also about 100 old Leopard 1 model available, of which 88 vehicles can be restored and delivered, as Pepper said. Western allies are sending enough weapons to enable us to defend ourselves. But today we need more to fully retake our territory. In early February, it became known that we are negotiating with Rheinmetall on the supply of new Panther tanks. Meet the game changer, KR-51 main battle tank, the Panther. This is the latest next-generation German tank, first shown on Eurosat 3 2022 in France. The heavy vehicle is built on the chassis of Leopard 2 main battle tank and is considered to be its successor, are oddly similar to the Leopard 2A5, but they are two different tanks, absolutely different. But this is not only about Panthers, Falcons and armored vehicles. It is how a criminal and just warfare of Russia against us in Ukraine and the free world is changing us and the free world to be better, faster and stronger. We simply do not have any choice, because the choice to become Putin's pocket protectorate with someone as marionette, as charged as Ramzan Kadyrov is not a Ukrainian choice. So our army grows bigger, stronger, better equipped, more digitized, with more profound battlefield experience. We pay enormous price for that, that is true. With our lives, the lives of our people on the front line, handing the Russians occupiers' heads back to them, but that is the price for freedom. Something Russia never had and never will have until the Soviet-Russian abomination monstrosity won't perish, given away to a new, maybe free Russia. So this is a paradoxical truth about this war. A nation that cherishes freedom above all the rest of the virtues has inspired you, dear world, to help it to win. That means hell of a lot, as that means we as humanity are moving towards something more important than a weaponry. An era when partnership is the best of the weapons. But that does not mean, of course, we don't need something like this. Why do we need all this? Explain easier in the next part of our wrap-up. Modern Russia is a country of thieves, criminals, and illegally acquired capital, including political one, according to Putin. In the end, why not? If the Tsar himself changes the constitution to comfort himself, what his managers, why they can't? So, meet a whole new thief idea, a greatest level up and on a new level. The idea is to move the regional center from the temporary Soviet Russia's occupied Zaporizhia to Melitopol, where the local Russian governor Yevgeny Balitsky rules the thing. According to Occam and his razor, the only sane explanation for what is happening could be the personal financial interest of Yevgeny Balitsky, who obviously really wants to devour an infinite amount of money from the state budget. This guy is something, really. It is worth recalling what Melitopol is not only the hometown of Comrade Balitsky. For a long time, he acted as a watchman for Russian Melitopol mafia, with connection to the corrupt Ukrainian Party of Regions. Comrade Balitsky owned businesses here and there, and of course is well acquainted with the crime in the city. Well, because he is the crime himself. I mean, people are people. They do steal. They kill, they rape, they murder, and do sorts of damn things, but the only country where it is actually okay to do that way, the only country where the crime is legitimized is Russia. You won't hide a couple of billion rubles under your governor's bed. Hey, welcome to Russia. Thieves. That is the main responsibility for the employees of local Russian administrations all over the criminally occupied regions of Ukraine. Moscow big bosses like Sergei Kiriyenko, who has served as a first deputy chief of staff of presidential administration of Russia since 5th October 2016, and all other Shoigu's, Kadyrovas, and other Putin's regime reserve dogs. They all have a share in a global kleptocratic theft. And this is Russia. It does not mean there is no law in Russia, no. It just means that the crime and the law are the same in Russia. Well, suit yourself. The acting head of the Kherson region, Vladimir Saldo, that's his surname, the guy wants to build a brand new city for 30,000 people in Kherson region under his financial control, of course. According to him, the implementation of the project will be controlled by the presidential administration and personally by the first deputy head of the presidential administration, and that is exactly Sergei Kiriyenko. Actually, all of the thieves in all of the corrupted Russia, including official number once again in half, Comrade Kiriyenko, serves Ukraine just well. Because since this is the weaponry, you see, a virus that eats your enemy inside out, what is killing them is their Russian arrogance and corruption, an absence of freedom and neglectance to all its shapes, freedom of speech, sex, and freedom to say no to corrupted criminal Tsar who has started a corrupted criminal war.
Создается какой-то фасад красивый.
Some kind of beautiful facade is being created, that something has been done. Although, if you look at the documents, then several Mariupols have probably already been rebuilt there, and certain people close to Kiriyenko and other people responsible in the Kremlin have earned money. Accordingly, Kiriyenko reports to Putin that everything is fine, that there may be some difficulties on the places, but as a whole, everything is fine. Everyone support us. Those who report that everything is fine earn money, and they have a huge hope that this will never be revealed, because the dynamics of events will not allow all this information to be revealed, because the people who profited from this are very interested in Russia losing this war as a result, because then all the money that seems to be directed to the restoration of Ukraine will not be under the control of Russia, and they will say, what can we do?
I mean, but this time it is a whole damn city, so you can steal as much money as you can, because they all feel, from Putin to his Saldo friend, the Russian-style regime has no other way but down. The time is now, and it is over. Steal while you can, there is no other chance. No other Saldo, Mr. Saldo. Russia's oil and gas export revenues fell 38% in January compared to January 2022, the International Energy Agency tells us. In total, Russia earned 18.5 billion from the supply of raw materials, of which oil brought about 13 billion. Here the fall is a little more modest, by 36%. January became the first full month of Western sanctions against Russian oil. On December 5th, the European Union imposed an embargo on the supply of raw materials delivered by the sea. All at the same time, the price ceiling at $60 per barrel agreed upon the G7 countries, the UAE and Australia, is the maximum price for transactions with Russian oil. also transported by sea. In February, then, the decline continued. According to the Russian Ministry of Finance, tax revenues from oil and gas exports this month fell by 46% compared to February 2022. 521 billion rubles is 6.91 billion.
The Russian Federation has spent a huge amount of human resources, weapons and materials. Its economy and production are not able to cover these losses. Kirill Budanov, the head of the main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, in an interview with USA Today.
So, what is the real selling price of euros? After the introduction of the European embargo, the main volumes of Russian oil shipped in the ports of the Black and Baltic Seas are sent to India, primarily to the ports of the west coast in the states of Gujarat and Kerala. Many tankers that do not initially announce their destination end up in Indian ports as well. At the beginning of the year, the shipments were practically zero, then increased sharply from March, and by December Russia became the largest supplier of crude oil to India. Surprise, surprise. Coincidentally, one of the largest refineries in the region, Naraya Energy, with a capacity of 400,000 barrels per day, is controlled by Rosneft. According to some traders, in December, Ural's discount on the basis of delivery to these ports was $6 to $10 to the price of Brent, and fluctuated depending on the price of Dubai and Oman oil, which are the usual diet of Indian refineries. If rumors are true about the purchase of more than 100 tankers recently acquired by Russia and Russian companies and entrepreneurs to organize the shadow fleet that is being created to counter sanctions and the price ceiling, then most likely the bulk of Russian oil travels on these vessels. For them, the concept of freight rates is particularly irrelevant. Except for the cost of insurance and bunkering, Russian money has already been spent on these vessels, and paying for the freight is simply a transfer of money from one account with Russian beneficiary to another. In addition, it is likely that a certain number of tankers for the transportation of Russian oil are hired on a time charter basis, on an urgent lease, or not on a specific route, which also makes the cost of one transportation uneven. It is needless to say, ships for these shipments are almost never booked with the help of official brokers participating in the Baltic Exchange monitoring system. So, there is very little, if any, information about real transactions and prices in them now, and they cannot serve as a reliable indicator of the average cost of the transport. One way or another, the appearance of opaque elements in the revenue distribution chain creates a lot of space for creativity for those involved in the movement of oil along the contract chain, starting with ordinary oil company managers responsible for contracting and up the chain of responsibility. When independent and accurate benchmarks disappear, you can always show a result that will look somewhat better to authorities than what is written in the newspaper, but in fact, do much better. But share the difference with someone who helped close the deal correctly. This is how fortunes were made in the 1990s, just by the way. Well, the war kills, or make you flourish. If you are a Russian war criminal circumventing the sanction and those brokers and managers from the West who help you to, well, life is life, isn't it? It was Henry Keane on UATV channel explaining hardest of things in easiest of terms. Stay safe and tune for more tomorrow. Thank you.